Everyone is getting sick. And the truth is, modern humans care more about saving cows and bees than saving their own species. Today, that is going to be different because in this video, I'm going to talk about how to save your life from the current chronic disease pandemic. I've successfully healed my hardcore digestion problems, my sleeping problems, which I had for years, and they caused me to have such a terrible life. In certain 3 specific months, I was almost not able to sleep at all. I have healed my depression and even more issues. And I have done the same for my mother. She had a chronic disease and it has done wonders. And on this path, I realized how most chronic diseases are tied to the same factors. First, we are going to go back in time and look at where we as humans likely come from, because we used to be so much healthier and there's such a big story about it. And then we are going to go back to the modern world and I will explain to you with science and logic what is driving this disease pandemic. So since we are going to spend some time together in this video, I want you to know that it's going to be worth it. My name is Lancelot, and for years I was watching my mother getting worse and worse. 2016, she was diagnosed with asthma, and since then she was put on medication. And many things have gotten worse ever since then. And we both knew even in the beginning that those companies selling those medications were playing an evil game. But that didn't change anything because we had no other solution, although she tried so many things. From fasting, over banned books about natural compounds, supplements, therapy, everything. That was all until one day I had a major health crisis too. See, my digestion was absolutely going nuts. I couldn't sleep anymore and I actually had trouble with my heart. In that time, I was going to the gym 5 times a week, trying to gain more muscle, and to be quite honest with you, this is also why I procrastinated fixing some of those issues, especially when it came to my digestion. But one day I made the decision to fix everything. So I went into a really deep researching phase, especially about diet. And yes, there are really so many things you can do with your diet. It's not just this superficial level that you might have heard about. And honestly, I discovered many things, many awesome things. And together with my mom, I've applied these things and we had incredible effects. Like for example, sometimes she didn't even have to take a medication for an entire week. Whereas before that, she had to take it every single day. Don't get me wrong, before that we were already consuming oatmeal, but there are really even more things to that. However, to be quite honest with you, it was an on and off thing, and while we had many wins, we also had many losses. But with time, I learned, and following this healing path, I discovered the other parts that I was missing, and with them, I was able to successfully heal myself, and I'm currently with much success healing my mother. And so this video isn't about how you can eat 5 leaves of salad more with a smile on your face. This video is about how to fix your fucking problems when they are so bad that you can't ignore them anymore, and when they're starting to threat your life. Oh, and they're also for curious people looking to improve their health. And by the way, before we begin, you can fact check everything I'm about to say. I'm also going to show you some of the studies, but the science to what I'm going to tell you is out there. This is just the part of science that you were never being told about. So then let us do some time traveling. And I would like to go back to the first humans that we have evidence of to really get back to our roots. What year do you think we have to go back to? Maybe 40,000 years ago? 60,000 years ago? Wow, someone 80,000 years ago. That is a lot, right? So there's something called Cro-Magnon. It's now called anatomically modern human. You and me, we were told in school that humans come from monkeys, and interestingly, to this date, we haven't found any real evidence of a sort of transition phase. Instead, what we have found is Cro-Magnon, or anatomically modern human, which are human skeletons that look just like us. And we have found them in the East African Rift. This is where all humans originally come from. And we have stayed there for a really long time. And when we moved out of that area, that is when we first started to get these changes in skin color and just people looking different. And the year that we have dated some of those skeletons back to is absolutely crazy. It's not 2,000 years ago, it's not 5,000 years ago, it's not 40,000 years ago, it's not even 100,000 years ago, but 300,000 years ago is what we have dated some of those skeletons back to. When I first heard this, I'm gonna be quite honest with you, I didn't believe it. So I went out and fact-checked it and found out it was true. And this completely changed my timeline. See, I used to think that humans, like we dated some of those early humans back to 40 to 60,000 years ago. And this is true for Europe, but not for the entire human history. And this now drastically changed my timeline. And I started to realize those tiny things like the ancient Maya, the ancient Egyptians, they aren't that ancient after all when you look at the entire timeline. Let's go back, say 250,000 years ago, so not the full 300,000 years ago, but 250,000 years ago is a lot too. One of the things that I often tell people when I first meet them and I tell them about the work I do, I tell them, well, humans used to be so much healthier and now cancer is increasing so much, and don't you notice that? And some of those people often reply things like, yeah, we used to not get cancer because we used to not get that old back then. We used to die so early. So this is why cancer is now increasing, because people are getting so old. And this is a total fucking lie. See, you can even prove this now. We are dying younger already now, and cancer is still increasing. And if we continue this pace, then I'm gonna be quite honest, if you're my age, probably not even gonna get 50 years old. And you're gonna start to suffer very soon. And maybe you're suffering already. Maybe you are having digestive issues too. Maybe you have low testosterone. Maybe you can't sleep good either. Maybe you have ADHD, can't concentrate, and suffer from depression. Now, humans did not get 30 to 40 years old in hunter-gatherer or even call them caveman times. See, this is one of the things that really drives me crazy when people think that, because it is an average that people are referring to, and it is a terrible situation to take an average. Humans had for an extremely long time something called a high childhood mortality rate. So that means a lot of children and teenagers died. This is actually one of the very good things that modern medicine has changed. A lot of children and teenagers died because basically they cannot go long without food. Their immune systems aren't that developed, and they're basically all predators tend to go for the smaller ones. So, and to really just wrap this up, we basically had one half of people dying in their youth and childhood, and the other half that actually survived this phase got around, and this is again an average, 70 years old. If that isn't a good age, considering all of the dangers that are present in nature. I mean, they could have easily gotten 80, 90 years old in safer environments, and it also turns out that they had no chronic diseases. And to be quite honest with you, or if they had super low amounts of it from the data that we now have. And to be honest, it would also make no sense if they had, because we never see any animals in nature under normal conditions to develop chronic diseases either. Although I would like to dive even deeper in where we come from and everything, but the point of this video is really to fix chronic diseases. And what I just want you to understand with what I just told you is that humans exist for a very long time. They actually got old, especially considering their environment, and they were healthy. Now, what's causing us with all of this progress, science, to get all sick then? Well, let's ask the experts. Let's do some funny games. So if you have a chronic disease XYZ today and you go to your specialist doctor, what is he going to tell you? I'm not talking about like the one nice doctor that actually tells people that you can also change things with your diet. No, I'm talking about the real world out there. In the real world, they're probably not even gonna listen to you. But let's say they kind of hurt you for a second. They're probably gonna tell you like, yeah, so there's probably a genetic factor, so there's something wrong in your nuclear genome, and this is why you now have that. And you're gonna have to take our solutions. To show you just how crazy that actually is, I'm gonna give you a different example. And this one actually has to do with something different. So let's say in the business world. You have a business, you come to me today for a business consultation. So I've made $1 million with my business and you want to know how you can achieve that too. So we make it very simple and tell you like, yeah, all right, now go and show me your website and how you sell your products. You do just that, tell me about everything and the effort you're putting into this thing. And then at some point you're done and I stand up and I say, yeah, all right, so listen, there's just something that you have to have. You already need to have this in order to be really successful with your business. Unfortunately, you don't have that. I am so deeply, deeply sorry, really. But I actually have a solution for you. So look, I have this person here. You have to hire this person every month for $5,000, and he's gonna do some of this website and sales stuff for you. And this is sort of your only solution. Of course, I get some money from that too. And this is your only sort of solution that you can do right now. Otherwise, you just won't make it in business. I mean, hopefully you will tell this person to go fuck himself, because this is the most terrible advice ever. But this is being accepted by everyone when it comes to their doctor. And this is literally how we grow up, how some people in this world want us to think, because this is actually driving the profit. The question naturally occurs, what is causing these DNA changes to occur? And also, is that really everything? Is that everything that there is to chronic disease? Does every single person with a chronic disease have exactly those DNA changes? Because it turns out no. And when it comes to how the nuclear genome is being controlled, this is called epigenetics. And it turns out that energy seems to be a big part that controls epigenetics. So you can change your genetics based on your lifestyle and your choices. You can keep your bad stuff in your DNA deactivated and also deactivate it again if it has been activated, if you do the correct things. What am I saying here? Healing is possible. You can go from not being able to walk the stairs to living a normal life again if you get this right. You can go from having cancer to not having it anymore for the rest of your life. You can go from having low sex drive to having one again. You can go from years of insomnia to having a good sleep again. And all that without the side effects of conventional treatments and solutions. You can have perfect teeth alignment and never need bracelets when you grow up. Did you realize that most teenagers now all need to wear bracelets? And the truth behind it is really that we are missing things that make our teeth straight, that make our teeth fit into our skull. So genetics. If you want to focus on something where you're going to get a lot more value, then focus on something called mitochondria. Also small organelles found in your cells, they also have a small genome, and this one changes faster. Mitochondria are responsible for the energy and water in the cell and can actually influence the DNA inside of your cell. So you can change your genetics via that way, and you can influence your mitochondria way more. This is what I focused on, and this is what has allowed me to heal myself. Therefore, the answer is medicine doesn't really have an answer. And the answer that they do have, the solutions that they do have, are the things that are going to destroy your life in the long run, either by causing psychiatric problems or destroying other parts of your body. And the people in power control what's being studied, so they keep studying this nuclear genome bullshit, which of course, they don't find anything. Who would have thought? Did you know that in 2023, the US spent $4.9 trillion on healthcare. 48 billion of that went into medical research. If you get this right today, this video is $48 billion worth. probably way more. Let's begin talking about what's different today compared to 300,000 years ago. What are we not getting anymore that we need? See, let's really start with the foundations. A human needs water, air, food, light. What do we need the light for? Probably to see, right? See, everyone today thinks that we only need light to see. In fact, when we are born, our eyes can't see yet, but they can sense already. So we are gonna begin with light. The largest organ of the human body is the skin. And what you probably don't know about the skin is that it has so-called photoreceptors everywhere. Photoreceptors are proteins that can sense light and give signals to the internal world. We used to only know about photoreceptors in our eyes, but also our skin has all of these photoreceptors. And the way that I want you to start thinking about your skin from now on is basically like you have eyes everywhere where you have skin. And you know what the crazy part is? When I shine specific frequencies of light on your skin, I can influence your digestion, your mood, your nervous system, and other things that you cannot feel at all, like your biologic programs, for example. And that all works with the circadian rhythm, or easier biorhythm, and certain proteins. And our biorhythm is adapted to sunlight. This was the only light that evolution has really, and nature have really adapted us to, because that was the only light that was around 300,000 years ago. And see, every time it's daylight outside, that is sunlight. Even if it's a cloudy day, that is just sunlight behind the clouds. And this is, by the way, also one of the reasons why you can't sleep anymore when you expose yourself to light from your mobile phone or your lightning in the night, especially blue light, because your body, your system, thinks that the sun is up and starts a program to upregulate your wakefulness. What you might not know is that it goes even deeper, and you actually change the clocks everywhere inside of your cells and other things you cannot feel at all. You completely changed how your cells work. And the reason you can't feel it is because nature never thought you had to feel it. Like when you cut yourself, you're gonna feel that because you have a system there that is able to feel that you cut yourself. Did you ever felt bad during an X-ray? We know an X-ray causes cancer, or at least increases your risk of cancer, and changes your biology too. And I always paid very close attention to when I did an X-ray, especially of my head. But I never felt anything. And the same is true for light. Long term, of course, you will get disease symptoms, but you will probably not make the connection with light because there was no immediate response. And so this light part was a big part in how I healed my own issues. And I realized that that was one of the big problems that I had when I went to the gym 5 times a week, because inside of there, especially during the winter, you're around a ton of artificial light. And believe me, I know that exercise makes you feel better, but that does actually not mean that your cells are working how they're supposed to. And there is a big difference between you working out outside and you working out inside. You might have some benefits exercising inside, but you also have some downsides. Instead, if you just exercise outside, your cells are working how they're supposed to work, and you're not having any downsides. And this is really one of the reasons why people like Chris Bumstead has, or at least had, all of these digestive issues. One of the best bodybuilders of our time, with diet coaches and everything, has digestive issues, which is really bad for bodybuilding. And when you start paying attention to it, you're gonna find examples everywhere where people have those issues due to their light environment. And so, can light cause digestive issues? The answer is yes. It can cause a bunch of things based on how it changes how your clocks work and how your entire system is built. And it can also be used for healing. So light from outside, as you're getting it right now from your monitor, is hitting your skin, and those photoreceptors turn the signal into an electrical signal which changes everything inside of you. And did you know that the circadian rhythm plays an important role in almost any chronic disease? That also means you can heal by getting into a good rhythm again and restoring what has been destroyed. And the thing with the biggest influence on the circadian rhythm is light. So this is also how you can destroy your own body if you get the wrong signals all the time, because your cells are working so incorrectly and so much against you. Everyone thinks that our body is just working by itself. That's actually not true. We need the correct signals from light sources, for example. And when you're outside, even on cloudy days, that is sunlight. And this light is completely different from artificial light, as you can see on these pictures. This is artificial light. Now this is sunlight. And this red part there that you can see, part of that, you can't even see the full spectrum on this picture, but part of that is infrared A light. This light is invisible to us. It's also not hot, but this light, it can literally penetrate your skin up to 30 centimeters. This means it can shine in your skull, in your belly, and it interacts with something called the ATPase, which are nanomotors that your mitochondria run on, and this helps with blood flow and energy production inside of your body. This is basically like a wireless plug to the sun that powers your cells. And you don't have that in artificial light, in LEDs especially not. You have it in candles, but not in this modern light. And that means you're getting the wrong signals all the time anyways, because your body doesn't even know what that is. Sunlight always has these infrared frequencies, and then suddenly you shine some light on it that doesn't even have that light that is always in there. So it suddenly thinks like, what the hell is that? I'm gonna use this weird program here. It's almost like an alien program. So let me ask you a simple question at this point. Does nature make any mistakes? Does it just create a species for it to die, or just does it create tons of things that you just see suffering in nature? The answer is no. And listen very closely. There's a reason, if we really come from monkeys, why we have lost our hair. And that reason is not to get skin cancer. Because guess what we also know today? That an enormous amount of diseases are tied to a low vitamin D value. And most people now, they have that because they are only time spending inside behind a window glass that changes the sun's frequency, especially blocking UV light, or they wear sunscreen and sunglasses or glasses with UV filters. I used to only wear the highest sunscreen in the summer because I wanted to do something good for my health. And guess what? Despite that we are all doing that, skin cancer rates are increasing. How is that possible based on the idea that only the sun can cause skin cancer? Why are there studies out there showing that many skin cancer patients have low vitamin D values? How can they even have low vitamin D values if they have skin cancer? Because they should be in the sun out all day. Why are there studies out there showing that people with higher vitamin D values have less worse skin cancers? Why are most skin cancer patients pale as and never go out into the sun, especially when comparing it to the humans that lived 300,000 years ago? Let's take a look at the science. This paper, really big, done in 2016, has found out that a lack of sunlight is an equal risk factor as smoking is. They have found out that sun exposure makes you live longer. So when you stay inside to play video games, to watch Netflix, or to keep your skin pale to model in Asia, when you don't go out into the sun, it's like you're smoking. The same stuff that you see on cigarette packages today should be on sunscreen. Because explain to me how sunlight makes us live longer if we all got skin cancer from it. Explain to me how cavemen got 70 years old if they all got skin cancer. And the next study that's gonna shock you. This study proves that sunscreen has no effect on skin cancer. It doesn't protect you from shit, it only empties your pocket. It's a scam, and your dermatologist is involved in it. See, the science out there clearly tells us that sunscreen doesn't protect you from shit. This is how scientific your dermatologist really is. And honestly, he's not the last one when it comes to your doctors. Because you see, science and medicine united. The truth is they're further apart than you can imagine. Profit is what medicine is truly united with. The next thing that's gonna shock you. Is vitamin D really that important? No, it's not. See, the worst thing you could do after this video is order a vitamin D supplement or take one that you have. Vitamin D is at best 1/6 of the sun's benefits. There's so much about this fireball that you don't know. I didn't know too. I just heard, yeah, it has UV light and this is bad for you. This is all I knew. But it turns out it has so much more. For example, it has infrared A light that we already talked about. This is the light, it's not hot, it's in the infrared range. It helps with energy production and it's shining inside of you. And the crazy part about it is it actually makes your skin look younger. So while the UV light has some negative effects on your skin, the red light then again has some positive effects on your skin. So are you really gonna look like you're 80 years old if you go out into the sun a bit? This is what all these new red light therapies out there have, but it's present in sunlight. It's for free. And all you have to do to feel some of the other effects, if next time your skin is exposed and you are getting sunlight on your skin, then pay close attention specifically to your breathing, to your level of relaxation, to your mindfulness. How well do you really feel in that moment? And that is when you will feel some of the other effects that I'm talking about. Although I really have to mention, most of the effects even go into quantum biology and different pathways, which is way too complicated and long for this video, but there are a lot of positive long-term effects that you might also feel if you spend more time in sunlight. Just consider this. We have found out that every single cell on this planet emits UV light. And since the 1960s, we could even measure it and take photos of it. Your own cells emit UV light. And by the way, the reason you can't see it is because we cannot see UV light with our eyes. But do you really think that we emit this UV light by accident? Because certain parts of our body actually depend on it. And see, if you would go after conventional wisdom, we should all be filled with cancer all over. We would have no multicellular organisms because they all emit UV light. And this phenomenon could also explain some of the things like aura, because as you are interacting with someone, you're getting his UV light and he's getting your UV light. And this UV light that we're emitting is, by the way, stronger than what the sun provides. It's even stronger than UVC, which is already being blocked by ozone. Now, to finish this off, what else could cause skin cancer then? Well, maybe your LED lights aren't as safe as you think. Maybe artificial light wasn't around 300,000 years ago, and our body is not adapted to alien light that we now have since a little over 100 years, since we have those diseases increasing and increasing. Maybe our hands and arms where your friend got skin cancer aren't just always exposed to sunlight, but also exposed to artificial light all the time. Now I'm gonna cover one more foundation, and I know it's already a lot of information, but to be able to heal, you also need to know about this foundation. So the other foundation that is really important is food. This is what I optimized as well, and this is what allowed me to heal myself. Now, how did a diet 300,000 years ago look like? See, there was no agriculture, so no cookies, no pasta, no bread, no wheat, no corn, no beans, not even that many vegetables. So for example, cruciferous vegetables are actually sort of man-made food. They're made via a process called selective breeding. If you would have to fly from the US to Alaska today and your plane would crash in the deep woods of Canada, but you would survive, what would be your first thought on how to get food? Well, kill one of these animals, right? A rabbit jumping around like a clown? Not when you're there. But I'm serious. This is what our ancestors used to do as well. See, nowadays we have all these diet wars like keto, carnivore, vegan, vegetarian. But what I just want you to realize is that, especially from keto and carnivore, those kind of diets, where you hear some incredible effects that people have, this is people eating like we used to 300,000 years ago. They eat high quality animal products, which are, by the way, the most nutritious foods on this planet. Want to get the most minerals? It's not in fruits, what most people think. It's also not in vegetables. It's in meat and fish. Want to get the most minerals? You will also usually find the most minerals in animal products, especially because plant foods like soy have those so-called anti-nutrients that reduce mineral absorption. And we now have high quality studies showing little or no negative effect of saturated fat on the cardiovascular system, while the studies on insulin resistance are getting more and more. So this was the topic I took a very deep dive into, and I'm not just talking about those new diets like keto and carnivore. Sure, in the beginning they were incredible for me too, and I learned some stuff about them, but what I'm doing is actually going a lot more deeply into it. And to be honest, there are so many different ways that you can do those kind of diets, and only a few of them are going to give you the results that you're seeking, which are to heal and to live a better life, especially in the long run. Now, what I want to pinpoint here is getting everything essential. I'm a person that just likes first of all build a foundation. And how could you expect to be healthy if you aren't even supplying your body with everything it needs? And see, I grew up hearing the advice that if you eat everything, you're gonna get everything. At some point then I found out that that wasn't true. And to be quite honest, that was actually great because I realized how much I could change my diet, how much more there is to just eating some healthy foods. I realized that it really depends on how you combine those foods and what you really need. That is what it comes down to. And so this is basically what I became an expert at, getting everything essential. For example, like your vitamins and minerals. Now, because this topic is so deep, I want to give you sort of more general but very powerful tips that are going to help you to understand the bigger picture. So first of all, vitamins and minerals are essential compounds that our body needs. This is what you understood correctly. Now, nutrients and especially minerals need to be in a certain ratio. I actually think that our ancestors knew this too, but they just went after their natural senses. We today grow up being told what to eat. If you take any nutrient in form of a supplementation, or you eat something like the only beef carnivore diet and sort of unbalance your nutrients via that way too, you have to realize that it's not all just about getting the highest amounts of nutrients. It's actually about getting the perfect value, because you can not only have a deficiency, but also a toxicity. And this then has the potential to throw off everything else just because you're taking one nutrient in excess. Common example of that is zinc. You take zinc for a longer period of time, you might get really bad digestive issues, bloating, black dirt under your nails, your sweat smells more, you have dandruff, dark shadows underneath your eyes, even though you're sleeping, you're pale and you have low energy. This one nutrient in excess depleted your copper, which makes your mitochondria get worse. And that in turn does things to iron. And so you're seeing those are already 3 nutrients now, even though you only had 1 in excess, and it literally throws off everything inside of your body. Multivitamins are often even worse, even though they have all those nutrients, but what you have to realize is you're getting all your nutrients already, and when you then combine that with a diet that is just slightly high in nutrients, then you're overloading yourself with everything, which is really bad news for your liver. And also most multivitamins are pretty high in vitamin A, which is again a big problem for your liver. And I saw this a few months ago in like some bodybuilding YouTuber. He literally took 3 multivitamins in the morning like they're gummy bears. And see, when you had to suffer the long-term effects of supplementation, then you really know how dangerous that is. The only way that I recommend you getting most of your nutrients is via natural food. And just look up what foods are high in what nutrients. This is one of the ways that I went to heal myself, and honestly, the effects are incredible. This has given me a new life, and believe me, the time investment is worth it. So for example, also, a lot of people tend to think that restaurant food, especially here in Europe, is so healthy because it has a lot of colors, it has some meat, it has some vegetables, some carbohydrates, so it's a nice mix. It has all these different colors, it tastes good, has different foods. But the truth is, most restaurant food is terrible for you. One of those reasons why is seed oils. So this is one of the easiest changes you can do in your household and create a big change in your health. Like improve your heart health, decrease your cancer risk, improve your brain health, and so much more. Fat is present in many recipes. The fat that most people are using is so-called polyunsaturated fat from seeds. That's where the name seed oils comes from. This is one of the most toxic foods on this planet. Seed oils contain high amounts of omega-6 and low amounts of omega-3, which causes you to have a severe imbalance in those two on a tissue level. And we have seen in countless studies that this is a huge problem for the cardiovascular system, obesity, inflammation, and so much more. Now, to change your omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, it takes time and consistency. And so instead of using highly processed seed oils that are, by the way, absolutely unnatural for us to consume and only possible with modern agriculture, no way you're going to consume that 300,000 years ago, you should switch to more natural fats. For example, coconut oil for cooking, because the high saturated fat content is perfect for frying. You can also use high quality butter or animal fats, and you can use olive oil for things that you aren't cooking. I would love to give you more tips, but the truth is this is where personalization plays a big role, and I don't give one-fits-all solutions anymore, like many people online do these days, where they give 60% of the people some good advice and they hurt 40% of the other viewers. And I don't want to make the same mistake as they do, because I was hurt by so many fitness YouTubers. I even was from those keto dieters, and even those vegans. I mean, I tried all of this, and those are the biggest tips that I can give you, and they are actually worth a lot. And when you think about it, then you will realize they almost cost you nothing to implement. So what can you really learn from this video? And most importantly, how can you heal from it? Or if you aren't sick, then how can you get to optimal health? The first step is really to make a choice. So we grow up being indoctrinated to believe that everything that science and medicine tells us is correct. Yet, science and medicine has been wrong about so many things already and is still wrong about so many things. And it's also something that can be influenced by money, by politics, by other people. Everyone is getting sick and most people listen to what they tell them to do. And so this is all the study and all the data that we really need. Just open your eyes. What is going on outside? Are those people really that healthy? And so you can listen to these anti-aging gurus that tell you to wear a rainbow when the sun is shining to protect myself from the UV light. And take all sorts of supplements take metformin and rapamycin. See, they believe in taking things that other humans created, other modern humans, and that will make them live longer. I think it's a joke. See, my grandfather is 86 years old and he has the best brain function you can imagine. Literally, when I talk to him, it's like he's 60. He's so young in his brain, and I always thought to myself hopefully I got some good genetics from him too. But one day I realized something. A lot of his friends are dead, and you know what the one thing is that he always did in his life? He always went out in the sun like crazy. He even took his TV outside where everyone would watch TV inside. He would take his TV outside and be in the sun all day. And then I realized that it's not his genetics. It's absolutely not his genetics. He's the one person that never uses sunscreen. And now he's 86 years old. This is the other benefits of the sun. This is how powerful this truly is. And this is, to me, the best. When I see these anti-aging gurus, dude, are they really 86 years old? I don't think so. So what can they even say about those things? Guys, I have really good, look at this, my markers are so good, I'm for sure gonna live to 100 years old. No, you're not gonna live to a fucking 100 years old because you run outside with a rainbow. And you want to tell other people what to do? Go fuck yourself. So instead, you have the option to start to believe more in nature and evolution. See, those are the things that have created us. They are our masters. And they're decentralized. They're nothing that another human like me or anyone else can really influence. Your master is nature, and if you don't respect that, then you're going to pay the price. See, like I have, using sunscreen, playing video games at night. Is it really that hard to believe that the sun, meat and masculinity are all healthy for us? Because once you understand it, you understand that what I just told you today is all about our biologic roots. This is all I told you. I told you the roots that you need to understand to be able to heal myself. This is how I healed myself too. I understood the roots of our biology. And this is important to understand because otherwise the next Twitter post, the next negative comment underneath this video by expert dermatologist is going to create a conflict in your mind. So they might even create videos about me or make fun about me like, yeah, ha ha ha, if it would all be that simple, right? Stop being a fucking pussy and make it simple. I didn't tell you my opinion here. I just told you the roots of nature that I followed, and with them I was able to successfully heal myself. Still, what's the exact plan to heal? One big thing to realize is, especially when you have a chronic disease or you have several diseases, then you need a ton of energy to heal. And this is almost like success. It typically doesn't happen by accident, especially in our modern world. I was able to heal myself and my mom because I spent over 2 years barely doing anything besides researching, being on a strict diet, and applying everything. This did not only cost me more money than I had, but also made my health sometimes worse in the long run. And what I'm using for this these days is called quantum health or quantum biology. This is basically a new space, but before you're gonna freak out because it's new, the goal is not to invent something new. The goal is to understand how modern things, for example, like LED lights, have altered our biology and how we can heal from that again. And then I also combined other things with that. For example, I use certain things from functional medicine and I combined all those things together. This is what allowed me to heal myself. And I didn't stop at the biochemistry like medicine does, but I went even deeper on the quantum level to understand all this. And there are far more things than what I shared in this video, and part of the reason why I didn't share them is because I literally can't, not on this platform. That is why I recommend for everyone watching this to join Revolution Reset, because there I can talk more freely and give you more information. If you want to have a personalized plan having all the key components for healing, then you can book a free info call via Revolution Reset. And this is not a sales call, so you can even leave this call at any time. This is really just to see if we are a fit and if I can heal your disease or your diseases. But before you book the call, I don't want to work with people that, number one, are an asshole, number two, are stuck in their diet, worshipping a community and unable to change their thinking, number three, people unwilling to invest more time in their health and that just expect me to tell them the 5 supplements to heal. And number four, I don't want to work with people that don't respect the work I do. That being said, if you want to join Revolution Reset because you want to get healthier again and you're done being lied to, then you can join via the link in the description and book the info call if needed.